Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I am unmuted this time. I'm your host and keeper, the Harry Channel, and with me tonight are Minions Sora Luna.
Good evening.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
You made your saving throw, that's good.
Yeah.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And I assume this is DrFunctional, or is this Geodes?
This is Geodes.
Hey!
I kind of figured with the pilk.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, how are you all doing tonight?
Really tasty.
Good.
Well, I know Sora's tired. I'm tired.
Yes.
I'm working too much. I have a huge project I have to get done.
Sorry.
I will be working on that as soon as the show's done until I drop.
Can I just say something about the pilk very quickly?
Go.
I used to have a boss, and this was he was quite a mentor to me. I really admired this guy, and still do to this day. But he had a very weird habit. He would take a glass of ice and fill it with Dr. Pepper. We're okay so far, aren't we?
Yes.
Mm.
Just take a normal glass, some ice, fill it with Dr. Pepper, and then mix in Coffee Mate.
Creamer.
No, it's not the creamer. It's the instant breakfast. The Carnation instant breakfast.
God.
The chocolate instant breakfast. But it stunk.
Yes.
It would stink up his office. He was my boss. He was actually vice
But
president
why?
of the United Group.
Because he can.
Because he loved the taste, and he would drink like 4 of those. He always had one going throughout the day. It's unbelievable.
Carnation
man.
instant breakfast chocolate
and
version
Dr. Pepper.
and Dr.
Right,
Pepper.
and with Dr. Pepper. Give it a
Wow.
try.
So,
But I'll tell you this: when you mix it, you can smell it across the
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you can.
Like a chemistry experiment.
Oh dear.
They're actually.
Need a fuming hood.
I actually do think that you've got some marginal reactions going on. That's 2 very complicated compounds getting together, and it would be a lot of work to figure out what's doing that. But I guarantee you can look for certain classes of chemicals that come out of stuff like that, and you can actually discern, how it's getting made. But anyway, I'm hijacking the stream. Harry, stop me from talking.
That's okay. I will, if you don't mind, Skep, I'm going to rely on you to keep an eye on the chat. Everybody helps me out with
Absolutely, I
that.
will.
I see Jack Gunsky, Plague Dr. Zach, the Assassin of the Gray. Let's see who else is here. People are slow to show up today, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get started anyway. I'm just glad that people who are here are here.
Welcome.
Oh, wait, I didn't give you a chance to talk. Sora, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I enjoy money, but very much would like not to be working on a Saturday.
Yeah, no kidding. Serenity, how about you?
I'm good. I've mostly just been chilling. So
Good.
Trying to get the garden going to start making vegetables.
Oh, nice.
More specifically, put the vegetables in the grounds. This way they can continue doing what they're supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Do you have like, do you start seeds early to try to get a jump start on the season?
She can't do that up there.
Yeah, no, we
Too
can't.
cold.
It's
cold for
too iffy. Like we can. Like I have a garage, so I get some of them started a little bit. I can.
They'll get a freeze and that's it.
Yeah. Mostly we try to keep stuff in planters. This way we can keep stuff from last season in the garage and keep it going.
Yeah.
Because we have big window. Like our garage is it's a garage, but it's not because it has a gigantic like picture windows on one side with a sliding glass door. So we can kind of put stuff there to get some light and it keeps the garage warm enough. But it's one of those, it's like we have plant service that we order live plants from that's cheaper than going to the store, and they certify their plants. So they send us some of them, and there's a couple more we've gotten this year that are perennials where I'm just going to try to keep going. And then, of course, the potatoes, which take nothing.
Yeah.
We're harvesting our potatoes right now. That's how
Yeah.
far ahead of you our growing season is.
Oh, yeah. I'm just happy we have strawberries growing. Like the strawberries I planted a little bit later than I wanted to, but they're in a planter that I can move them. And they're perennial strawberries. I just have to cut them back every once
I
in
was
a while.
just going to say it. They're returning strawberries. Very
Yeah.
good.
Everbearing,
Good
yeah.
call. Good call.
Good job. Okay, Skep. Anything else from you before we get started?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
I want to forget about this day and just move forward with the rest of whatever God has left me in the way of a life.
Yeah. Okay, and Pilkman Stan.
I was going to say, has Pilk talked about what he wants? What's going on with him?
I'm good. I may have caught the coof, but otherwise I'm good.
I thought
Don't
I
give
might
it
have
to
had.
Oh,
I thought I might have had the
sorry.
coof last week or this
Yeah.
week, but I tested negative. Yay!
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't done any tests, but if I do have it, this would be the first time I think I've actually caught it. So
Well, if you
It was chasing you down.
yeah,
just take it easy, don't put yourself out. You're amongst friends. Just hang out with us. If you need to go, just let me know.
That may have been me cursing you, though, because I think I got your ant problem.
no,
They've
yeah.
been dealt with. They've been dead. I've made them dead.
We
but
we
thank you.
we have a new breed of ant. We have
functional.
carpenter ants.
Oh,
in now.
no.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
you didn't want that
Ugh.
house anyway.
Yeah.
They're still not as
concentrate on
destructive
holy
as
water.
termites, but
Oh,
they're
it's
not
just-
good.
Carpenter ants can be fought. I helped my parents
With a
fight them.
torch.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's actually it's a lot of hard work. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
it's called sealing up your house.
Yeah. Pray
Yeah.
to Jesus.
Carpenter bees die easily. Carpenter ants,
yeah.
much less so.
Not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the things you learn when you own a house is you do not leave unpainted wood anywhere. It
Yeah.
is astonishing what a thin coat, but a complete coat of paint will do in terms of protecting your investment. And this is why you a lot of times see like the old guy on the ladder with the tiny can of paint and the brush just every day just going around. You just don't ever leave any wood unpainted if it's connected to your house. It's not gonna
Harry,
go
that
well.
is me. I'm the little paint guy. That's exactly what I do.
All right. Hey, Dr. Functional.
What's with the Pepsi milk and the weed?
I don't think about it. So did you get your Uber Eats?
Who is that? Yeah, unfortunately. Who is it?
It's me.
Oh, okay, Sora and Geodes. I
Yeah.
should have known.
I mean, you could flip them and they'd still work.
I'm sorry, I really don't like the way things look with the names displayed, so I just killed them.
Yeah, but I was late, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uber Eats.
Hey.
Uber Eats, fast food. You know, I just had to shovel something into my gullet because I was starving. I haven't eaten all day.
Well, we're glad you made it. I'm gonna.
If it means anything, we didn't know it was Geodes either. And what he showed up. So who are you?
Yeah. That's if anybody gets the URL to the stream and I'll just add you. I don't know any better. I just assume you belong if you have that code. All right, let's see. Do that and do this. So how's this look, Geodes? Looking good? You like the look of this?
That's about right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the West is absolutely screwed. This is really bad. Now up Sora's way, you can see that there's no drought, right?
Yeah.
So Sora's fine. She can still
Yeah,
take
we've-
her
Canada's
40-minute
Shit May.
showers. What?
We have had a shit May. It has rained and it was freezing the whole
Boo
May,
hoo.
end of April, and all of May so far.
Oh no!
That
Like
hail.
living water has been falling from the sky. Whatever
This is
will
like
they do?
this is like hearing Don Juan complain about chafing. Boo hoo.
Yeah.
Your life is so bad. God, I hate drought. The
But in it
reason
for like 30 years. What?
no, we've had not drought. Every now and then we have mudslides in between
Oh,
the
boy.
droughts. Yeah, it's always feast or famine.
Yeah, really.
What are you doing, Skep? You wanted to show something? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
If you think you're in bad shape, take a look at Texas.
Oh.
And
that's
what I
Right.
want to point out, if you would embiggen me, so that
Let me see. How do I do this?
just,
There we go. Okay.
and what you see is the very worst part. All the D4 area is over something called the Ogallala Aquifer. And that's a huge problem. That is a big effing problem right there. That will affect essentially all of the southwestern portion of the Midwest and into the West, into New Mexico and Colorado. And that all that is a combination of agricultural pressure on the Ogallala Aquifer and the effect of some of the fracturing techniques they're using to drill up there. So and that's big, that's all country up there. That's big old country.
Well, sometimes when God takes away an aquifer, he supplies a huge underground singing venue. No, it's not actually a cavern. That's not the way aquifers work, but you understand what I mean.
I'm not going to explain aquifers right now, but I just thought you might be interested to see that.
It's basically like a big Slurpee, made it where basically you have rock and you have water, and it's water under pressure. And when the aquifer is full, you can pretty much just drive a pipe 10, 15 feet into the water, into the ground, and water will just gush up. And that's the way it was in Silicon Valley, where they used to just have tomato fields out. When Moffett was surrounded with tomato fields and orange orchards and cherry orchards and things, you could just get water by putting a pipe in the ground, and then water would come out. And over time, we've just taken more and more water out of things. And the situation in Texas, where they get not a lot of rainfall much of the time, is this aquifer this is a multi-generational problem for Texas, made worse by the fact that you're not getting any damn rain.
Right.
But
also, everybody's moving there. That doesn't help.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Can't we just get some of that?
That's not the part of Texas they're moving to. Part of Texas they're moving to is actually white.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Functional?
Can't we just get some of that Europa ice and drop it on Utah or something?
Yeah, let's do that.
Just a huge chunk of Europa.
Y'all want some of our water? I'll get you some of our water.
Let me see.
We got plenty.
Okay, I did that without getting rid of anybody. Excellent. So this is the situation in my part of the world, and the reason I bring it up is there was something that came up in the news today. Let's see. Oh, thank you for that. Damn
Limited
it!
time offer.
Hold on.
$1 for
Screw
6
you!
months.
Haha! I anticipated your duplicitous bullshit, and I prepared for it.
Plankton.
Okay, residents celebrate as California Coastal Commission rejects plan for Huntington Beach desalination plant. Now, this group of midwits here think they're saving the environment, but what they're doing is it's like California has gone past the point where it's just sort of random chance would be right more often than we are now. We're actively stupid. These people
actively wrong.
And actively wrong. This is actually pretty terrible. So I did a bunch of research into this, probably more than we want to talk about tonight. But the Brain Trust in Huntington Beach has convinced the California Coastal Commission not to build a plant that would just supply them with buttloads of fresh water.
Yeah.
And it's all because the saline levels go up where you dump the salt back into the ocean. You put it into a huge leach field. And it doesn't really destroy the ocean. It doesn't create like a huge dead patch. It might change the composition of what's growing there because some things favor higher salinity more than others. But it doesn't just create this huge death zone off the coast of Huntington Beach. They really needed this thing, but they completely torpedoed it. In fact, it's weird. I'm not really sure entirely what to make of it. I found this site, calmatters.org, Huntington Beach Desalination Project would be money down the drain, which contains a lot of really interesting things. They make this claim that it's just massively too expensive. And I've done some research. Usually an acre-foot of water imported is around $1,000. And with desalination with a big plant, modern techniques, you can usually get it for, $1,800-ish. And they're claiming $2,800 by some sort of weird arithmetic that involves the state giving them less water from the Sierras and the aqueducts and them sort of being penalized for actually taking their own steps. And they're saying that what they should do instead is spend the next 7 years building a wastewater thing that's going to purify wastewater and put it back into the aquifer. Now, the next 7 years are going to suck for you people, because counting on the state to give you water, given what that map looks like, given this map, counting on the state to give you water when this map just gets worse all the time, is dumb. And expecting to get water from the Colorado River is dumb. And expecting your 7-year plan to do something about it is dumb. Because the people who are going to build this desalination plant are the same ones that run the one in San Diego, which the San Diegans are totally happy with. It's the same outfit, same technology, already proven to work, but this group of numbnuts here, Plankton Boy, has basically, and his ilk have put the kibosh on this thing. And I'm kind of like grinding my teeth over how stupid this is. I mean, I don't live in Huntington Beach, but I'm offended on their behalf that they could be dumb enough to pass up this opportunity.
I've never seen vegans hate plants so much.
What putative benefit to the plankton do they perceive? And I know they think that, well, the leach field will kill the plankton. Okay. Should we get rid of the whales? The whales are murder on plankton.
Yeah.
You know, would they favor that just for intellectual consistency or not so much?
Well, and remember there was that whale that launched that seal in the air that we showed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just nasty.
And then when the seal got back to the ocean, pulled out his K-bar and he skinned that whale.
Well, like I said, I was just really annoyed by this. I looked at, there's this thing, and I actually did my homework. I mean, I'm not coming off completely half-baked here. I found this article in Scientific American, Slaking the World's Thirst with Seawater Dumps Toxic Brine in Oceans. The takeaway from this is it really matters which method of extracting the salt from the water that you use. The reverse osmosis method they would have used is relatively benign if implemented properly, which it would have been. So, but I mean, I was trying to steelman the argument to make sure I actually knew what was going on.
Good policy.
Just terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how much general interest there is in water.
Just it's lemming-like what they're doing. They're making every bad decision they can, and they just continue to make them simply because they think they're doing something new and revolutionary. This is horrible.
Yeah, it is pretty
Stupid,
terrible.
Needless misery.
Well, if you're by the ocean and you've got access to a lot of solar power and other cheapish power, there's no reason not to do this. People like Geodes are the ones that are screwed. He lives where it's brown and there's no ocean nearby. The amount of energy it would take to pump that water from the ocean to Geode's house is a lot.
I just want to know why Arizona has more water than me. That's what I really want to know at this point.
Yeah, it's like a Mad Max kind of thing, and then there's a huge river that goes through the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Too much Mepsi, that's your problem.
Too much Pepsi.
Mepsi.
Milk? You mean milk?
Milk,
Pepsi?
sorry.
Milpsy. Yeah, that's
Milk and
Mepsi or Pilk or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pilk. Gosh darn
Pilk.
it.
Yeah, water don't touch this stuff.
But yeah, it's bad when we have forest fires to the point where we're coming up on national news on a daily basis. So it's like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Everything. Well, that's the other part of the drought is that wildfires are an issue. Now, wildfires are an issue in the Southwest any year. There's no year in which wildfires aren't an issue in the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And they can become these huge.
By the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, I once heard a talk by, who was it? I think it was the director of Los Alamos National Lab talking about the work they were doing on wildfire prediction. This was back in the 90s. And it was a really interesting talk. The whole dynamics of how you fight wildfires, these huge wildfires that you get in your part of the wood, Geodes, is actually pretty fascinating. Because it's almost like trying to... It's a combination of climate and a lot of almost like you're trying to commit a war against the fire. There's all these logistical concerns and other things that go into it. It's really interesting. The people who do this for a living professionally are smart people.
Oh yeah, no, our we have a lot of respect for firefighters in our part. Like we may not care about a lot of other government like the groups and we may even dislike groups like the police because we're super progressive over here. But when it comes to firefighting, everybody's like, yeah, no, we you guys get whatever you need. Although we do have some stubborn people who will be irritating, but that's always the case, So
the ones who won't leave when the evacuation order is given, and then they put the firefighters in danger, having to try to save them.
Those we also have a lot of people who like to not correctly put out campfires or like setting off fireworks during this time of year. So it's always great.
Oh, sounds familiar. Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I personally think they should just leave those people to their own demise out in the wilderness. But that's just me. So
Well, here's our new plan: sparklers banned, M80s approved. I think this would go well because this way the idiots would identify themselves pretty quickly.
Yep.
It's old Thumbless Joe.
Hey, lefty.
Righty tighty, lefty. Oh.
And it's gone.
All right. So, speaking of more blue state stupidity, blue state COVID learning loss widens racial achievement gaps relative to red states. We talked about this last week a little bit, and we're not going to do a full redo of
more
last
racist?
week. Well, what it means is that distance learning, where you just let the kids stay home, whether it's the attitudes of the kids or the conditions at home or whatever, seems to really screw the poor kids and the ethnically diverse kids who happen to be poor. It disproportionately
just as smart as white kids.
It's like, little Pablo is supposed to learn mathematics, but Pablo doesn't learn mathematics when he goes home and has all of the distractions of home. It's good to have Pablo in school sitting in a chair, who can talk to the teacher's aide and all that stuff. I'm just saying what the results are. Pablo seems to do better when he actually goes to school. And the rich kids who might just little honey's got his own little desk and his own office and his big screen monitor. The rich kids always come out okay. Funny that.
Pablo's learning some... those are book smarts, Harry. Come on.
Yeah.
Pablo's going to be learning some real hands-on street education in how weights work,
paintball math,
distribution networks,
Ingredients,
firearms mechanics,
financing,
chemistry, maybe if he's lucky.
Financing the health plans for your girls.
I mean, is it really a shock that the most needy children who need these institutions, these however you want to frame it? I mean, I know
who would benefit most from
schooling in America has been very lackluster, and there's been some serious shit going on as of late. But there's no discounting the overall benefit it has to uplift the upward mobility that an education, early childhood education, can give somebody is immeasurable. It is incredibly beneficial. Some kids don't take to it, which fine, but
I think it's actually measurable. I think it's measurable, isn't it? It needs to be before I'm going to put money behind it.
Individually?
No, collective, as a group. So if you take a bunch of kids and you put them through early childhood education and then you compare it to a control group who didn't do that, they just start regular kindergarten when they would start, I would hope that there would be measurable academic improvements over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean by immeasurable. You're saying there's intangible things that are hard to put your finger on that are really important.
Yeah, we could measure the upward mobility in income earnings of these people. I just meant emotionally to developmentally to make a child into a well-rounded person. Schooling should give you, that base education, reading, writing, arithmetic, social skills, but it also prepares you for a life of structure. There's always going to be somebody above you, and in the case of early schooling, you have your teacher. Well, maybe you'll have a TA, and then you'll have your teacher, and then you'll have the vice principal, and then the principal. So they know, they learn through osmosis how these structures work, and it is very applicable to the corporate business world, where you'll always have a supervisor and a manager and a district manager and then a boss and then the CEO. You'll have these things. You'll already understand how the basics of the structure work. Those are the kinds of things I meant were a little bit more intangible, immeasurable, like developmental wise. Yes, we can definitely get numbers and see, well, hey, yeah, people are making a lot more money when they come from a poor neighborhood, and this kid shows an affinity for math, and then they become interested in physics, and then they start working on CERN. Boom, that's measurable. Like, he's making $200,000 a year.
And then they create a black hole which falls at the Earth. Humanity comes to an end. Pablo, no!
And then
Pablo!
You compare Pablo's development versus his parents, who they might have been first or second gen immigrants, but they never really took off because of the schooling wasn't there. But they were happy in the simple life of picking vegetables, let's say. And you can see, okay, well, they were only making $22,000 a year.
Yeah. Well, setting aside the social mobility argument for a moment, the great thing is that these liberals talk about how much they care. They care so much for the downtrodden and the marginalized. Oh, they care, and they'll tell you how much they care. And if you don't agree with whatever stupid plan they came up with, they'll tell you how much you don't care and what a racist piece of shit you are. But why is it that their policies, from the people who care so goddamn much, seem to almost always cause more harm to the groups that they're trying to protect? Everything from the lax policing to the touchy-feely, emotive learning BS, to all of this stuff that they do, to the distance learning, keeping these kids out of school, they always end up hurting the people that they claim to want to help. That's what it looks like to me.
I wonder if it's just sheer stupidity and incompetence, or it actually is structured to be this way because there's no money in offering solutions. There's lots of money in treating the symptoms.
Well, I want to steer well clear of conspiracy theories, because God knows I've seen enough of them surrounding the food shortages and other things, and it's like I don't want to get us canceled. And plus, I don't like guessing. I just
personally,
don't like
I'm a favor of
stuff.
Hanlon's razor. If it's don't chalk it up. If it's just stupid, I'm pulling a Joe Biden. I can't even remember the quote, but if it's something seems like it's just stupidity and incompetence, it probably is, right? Like, I mean, that's what these.
Yeah,
I don't even know what to call them, mandates or.
Well, they're policies, and they end up essentially being turned into guidelines, and then the guidelines get turned into incompetent, terrible outcomes. Now, Sora already knows how I feel about the learning thing. We've talked about math before, and about Romania in particular, and there is value when it comes to something like math in particular, of getting the kids into a position where the phones are off and they have to sit there and focus and be little sponges, because there are too many distractions for people struggling with mathematical maturity as it is. A lot of students who are not autodidacts, or who aren't self-motivated and autodidacts, cannot learn without sitting in front of a chair and having a conversation with somebody about what all this stuff means. Herr Professor, what does this limit thing mean? Because it's good to have that discussion with somebody about, like, oh, okay, well, so this thing converges to this thing over time. What does convergence mean? That's a good conversation for kids to have. Yes, but they're not going to have it at home when it's just an optional, oh, by the way, see this Veritasium video and just watch that while I sit here and collect my pension. Lazy teachers. Sorry, I don't mean to go on a huge tirade here.
Just for the ignorant like me, so you have school boards. Mm-hmm. Scratch that. Who creates these types of things, these types of policies? Is it at a state level? Is it a district level?
There is restrictions placed by the federal and the state level, but a lot of times this is also pushed by, depending on the union, because although there is one big union, there are several smaller ones.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it's also the school district's discretion. So there's a lot of stuff that kind of makes some of it difficult. So
but I mean, for the most part, it would be the school board of, like, say, Chicago Public School Board.
For the most part, but they have federal and state guidelines they have to follow before they push anything down.
Yeah. Okay.
This comes from my grandmother being a teacher for 35 years. It's the only reason
No,
why
great.
I
I mean, I didn't know how closely it relates to ours and the European model of...
Oh, yeah.
They need to get rid of the Federal Department of Education. I'm sorry.
Does
We would
seem
be
that way.
much better off with 50 incubators of innovation. And then the states could pick and choose what works for them and incorporate it into their own thing. The federal Department of Education, I think, is a waste, but just my current opinion. You can talk me out of it, Serenity. Go ahead.
Oh, no. To me, it's hilarious going on social media all the time and hearing teachers complain about having to make lesson plans. And my grandmother retired before she died, obviously. She retired like 15 years ago, and half of her lesson plans were dictated by the Board of Education. And I have several friends who are teachers who say the same thing. So it's like there's a lot of... Nurses have the same problem, which is it's made up of a lot of people who went to college to get their MRS degree and failed. And now they're just very bitter and very mean and very controlling. And they want to have control. So, because as teachers, you can state you don't want to use the lesson plan and make your own. But then they turn around and bitch about having to make their lesson plan. When in reality, the state it's usually the state, but federal also provides one that you can go off of. And hell, there's so many different online resources. But like, that's where a lot of the problem comes from, is that none of the teachers, the really good teachers, take class by class and have a guideline and then figure it out. Because I had really good teachers when I was in high school and everything. But the bad ones just go, well, I'll just use the same one I've used year after year. It doesn't matter if the classes are different or the size is different or the number of kids or like the not intelligence, but the understanding of the kids is different. It doesn't matter. I'm going to beat this into your head. If you fail, you fail. Fuck you.
Usually handed down from above kind of thing. We had a lot of that here.
It is, but they can jerry it. Like they can jerry rig it a little bit and like go, okay, well.
No, I meant the ones who are lazy. They just take the guidelines from above and they just use the same shit every year.
Well, they're also the same. They're also the same teachers who complain about having to pay for stuff for their classroom, and it's like, well, the kids don't care, and you can get reimbursed for that if you actually put it on your taxes, you lazy bitch. But you won't do that because you just want to bitch. So bite me.
They probably don't even know how to do their taxes.
I highly doubt
Again,
it.
one of the biggest failings of public schooling today is we don't teach. You know, we still do teach the writing, arithmetic.
Reading, writing, arithmetic.
Reading, writing, arithmetic, yes. But we've omitted basic life skills of society, like home
That's
economics.
the ironic thing. When I was growing up, they did. I had home ec. I had an accounting class. I had learned how to do a checkbook in home ec when I was in middle school.
Yeah, they just started phasing it out by the time I got
I
there.
guess so.
Well, at least here it depends on the school you go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things also that I found out from watching an interview with, I think it was Rakita and a buddy of his who's trying to do like charter school stuff, is what these also what's happening is some of the good teachers, they're basically having some of the, like you go through the courses to become a educator for these students, and the teachers that actually give a damn, a lot of times if they're not on board even with like just stuff like the current ideological agenda, they will basically have their certifications held and as a type of like blackmail or extortion to basically say like, you know, you will comply or we won't certify you correctly. That's another thing that's also happening.
Well, it's certainly true for new teachers. I don't know how much ongoing education is affected by that. But for new teachers, you just need to keep your damn mouth shut and keep your head down and do what you can to get through.
We have seen at the university level with some big stories, Peterson and Weinstein. Not Weinstein.
Got part of a new Bernstein.
Is it Weinstein?
So, Geos. Sorry, go ahead. You finish.
No, I was going to say, I was just saying Jordan got a new
Yeah, he's
job at
chancellor
Ralston.
of Ralston College now.
Yeah.
Well, my point is, you see professors at the university level who just they're done with that shit, and
Yeah.
they leave and they go do other things. But you can see in Weinstein and with Heather, they want to still impart knowledge onto people who are thirsty for it, but they just don't have the backings of the institutions anymore, and they just said screw it. And they're not the only stories either. I just don't know how that translates into the grade school level. 1 to
And
12.
just to be clear, we're speaking of the public school.
Yeah.
Private schools still have to abide by the rules of state and federal, but they have a little bit more leeway to kind of do what they want in some cases. They still have to deal with their own board of directors, or like the dean or headmaster or whatever their school system is. But one, they get paid more. Two, they get a little bit more. They get more backing by the school, which gives them a little bit more protection from the asshole parents. And they're usually better teachers because they're like, at a private school, if someone's paying $300,000 a year to send their rugrat to a school, they want a teacher who knows how to teach, not some ideological asshole.
Well, next time some politician brags about how they protected you during COVID in the blue states, and they like Newsom running for re-election, and he talks about what a great job he did during COVID, just remember that the people he claims to help are the people that he hurt the most.
Yep.
Anyway, Geodes, you doing okay there, sir?
I'm good for now. Yeah.
Did you look at this ICE data collection thing for the immigration? Because I haven't, and I'm going to table it for a week unless you want to talk about it.
Yeah, why don't we table it? Because I hadn't had too much of a chance to completely look through it.
Unless Skep read it. Did you read this one, Skep? Immigration officials?
You see if this is one of the ones I have to look in the plan to see which one I read.
Let's put it this way. I think I can get away with just deferring it for a week. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, probably so. I'll make a point of preparing on it, Harry. Sorry.
That's fine. So let's move on to the Netflix thing. This is beautiful, and I don't know how many people have already seen this. I expect this has kind of made the rounds.
Yeah.
Is everybody sort of familiar with this?
Yeah.
Netflix fires major warning shot at its woke employees with new culture memo. This is beautiful.
I mean,
Netflix is getting sued now.
Sorry, Serenity, what?
I mean, it's beautiful, but it's the same way I feel about anything when these memos come down and then they come out. It's one of those, it feels like a PR thing. I'm hoping it's true and I'm hoping they abide by it, but just seeing the memo doesn't give me any hope. It's one of those things.
Okay, no, point taken. So, Skep, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that there's a, I think this was the...
Are you talking about the lawsuit where they're getting sued for the subscriber miss?
Let's see. Yeah, just saying that Netflix misled investors about declining subscriber growth over the course of 6 months, leading to a massive drop in the stock price, according to the shareholder lawsuit. So it's like a shareholder. That's the class. It's a class action against Netflix, and I think they're going to win this.
Yeah, you get your pee-pee whacked over stuff like that. It's the same. It's the same reason that Elon is making such a big stink about the bots, putting the deal on hold for Twitter, because one of the things you have a right to know when you buy a company like this is how many damn subscribers do you actually have. And I'm not talking about like the magazine where you just mail out. You just hand out copies of it to people with no expectation of ever getting paid, or newspapers. They do these things to inflate their numbers. Or where people go out and buy copies of Battlefield Earth to try to make L. Ron Hubbard look good. Those kinds of fake things. You need to know in a business how many actual customers you have and what the real accounting says. That goes in the quarterly filings. So when you misrepresent stuff like that, you can get in serious trouble. I think the veil of, or basically the veil of legal protection can go away on that one too. You can literally have people go to jail for this.
Okay, hold on. We need to talk about what the veil is. Okay, we really do, because the veil pertains to personal pecuniary liability. That is the precise legal language.
Mm-hmm.
That means that as an officer of a corporation, a corporate charter will provide a veil against people coming after your personal money, not the money you have invested in the company, but your personal money outside of that business activity as payment for something that the company, some tort that the company perpetrated on a guy. So it never extends legal wrongdoing. It's not a veil against legal wrongdoing. It's a veil against your money being sought by pissed off shareholders occasionally, and they won't have to pay anything out of pocket unless they are fined by the court. If they show certain types of harm, they could come after some of the individuals. If they can show that this treasurer was actively embezzling something, if they're actually doing something like that, then yeah, everything's off. You have you don't even have the financial protection anymore. You're just meat hanging out there waiting for a court to ravage you.
Mm.
But anyway,
yeah. Well, if lying to
what
the
that
SEC is bad, that can get you in the pokey, depending on what it is you actually do.
That's also a federal crime, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, it's aptly named. So that can be a problem. But more to the point is, if you see a lot of large stock sales that seem conspicuously fortuitous and unusual for somebody who's a major shareholder who has insider information, and you have this kind of situation where the stockholders have a reasonable case for, hey, you didn't disclose this and we lost a bunch of money. If we had known this information, we might have behaved differently and not lost a bunch of money. They can go after the individuals under the circumstances Skep was talking about.
Yes.
Because they're not just acting as members of the company, officers of the company, doing officer of the company things.
It's called the breach of good faith.
Yeah.
So
but anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Rewind a little bit, because I'm perplexed at all of this, because I have no idea what the fuck anybody is talking about. Can anybody name me a single instance of Netflix censoring anything? If anything, they've been the reverse in that they are well and open to a multitude of crap, for lack of a better word, whether it be, woke comedies, or when Louis C.K. had his little kerfuffle with the Woko Haram, they didn't pull his Netflix special. They're not pulling the Chappelle special. They don't pull anything. They don't pull Cuties. I see this as a whole bunch of not there. Like, the Daily Wire will say, oh, it's about, censorship. And it's like, but there is no censorship.
No, this is a different thing.
Say, well, you're letting stuff on and we don't like it, or there's stuff that, most reasonable people wouldn't like and we're going to defend it. I mean, it just...
Well,
on Netflix
I can answer your question.
Yeah.
Your question is that you're thinking of a slightly different but related topic. Okay, let me just read this memo really quickly, and then I'll tell you what this means and what it actually applies to. The updated Netflix culture memo also includes a new section called Artistic Expression, explaining that the streamer will not censor specific artists or voices, even if employees consider the content harmful, and bluntly states, if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. Now, this isn't about censoring things sort of externally. This is about insubordination from employees.
It's a
internally.
Big fuck you for management.
This is management saying, you don't get to decide what we put on the air. If you're not comfortable with that, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Yeah. And this is how you run a goddamn company. We've talked about a number of these things because I like to bring them up. I can't remember. I think it was some sort of database software, something company in Vancouver that we covered like a year ago.
Hootsuite.
And we've talked to Yeah, and we talked about the publishing company that didn't want to publish the J.K. Rowling books and other things, where these millennial employees in particular seem to think that if their fifis are hurt, they can just demand that the boss do what they want, like it's the college chancellor. They're used to being this entitled mob that just gets what they want from university, and they've carried it into the business world. And if Netflix is going to survive, they can't have that happen. This is exactly the right memo at the right time, in my opinion. And the same memo I would send if I was in charge of Netflix.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, I guess the information, the other articles and videos I've been consuming surrounding this were erroneous, to say the least. And I understood that part of, yes, there are employees who are talking openly and publicly and bad-mouthing the company, which, yeah, that no, you don't get to work for someone and bad-mouth them to the public.
Yeah.
That's just common sense
Well, there was a leader in the transgender community who worked for Netflix who got let go last October.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because they took internal data that's proprietary. This is not public data, but about the viewing numbers for Chappelle's special, and released it essentially inside the company to people who didn't have a right to know, which then caused a leak out into the world. They fired that person. And they did it, and that's absolutely appropriate. It has nothing to do with, their LGBT AEIOU-ness. It has everything to do with the fact that in a company like that, you cannot do that sort of thing. It would be like somebody talking about financial numbers in the hallways with somebody, and that information is supposed to be kept on a need-to-know basis. You don't talk about stuff like that in the hallway. So if you were to go into a computer, pull HIPAA data or financial data or anything that's protected and leak it inside the company and then it got out to the news, you should get your ass fired. And Netflix is starting to do that because they're in kind of an existential threat position right now. Their stock has been completely butchered, and they're losing subscribers. I think they're going to be okay. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong. I mean, it's just an educated guess.
I mean, yes, and they still are the #1 streaming service.
Right.
I think that, as they ballooned, they're now hedging their bets and saying, okay, well, we're losing, we're deflating, we're not going to crash, so we need to cut some of the fat, we need to buckle down and see where the roller coaster takes us. And I think that's a smart move. I don't think that anybody in charge over at Netflix is an idiot by any measure of the imagination. I think they've been doing business quite well, especially considering all the extra hubbub around stuffs.
So, just out of curiosity, Functional, you're a Netflix subscriber, right?
Yes, I have Netflix and Prime Video.
Sora, how about you?
Yes. Yep.
Serenity?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Haven't been one
Skep?
for years, and I don't use anybody else's stuff.
I am a subscriber to Netflix and
Geodes?
Disney.
I have ways.
You have ways.
5 out of the 6.
Well, the point is, I don't know that many people who don't have Netflix.
You do, Harry, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so that's 5 out of the 6 on the panel alone. That's a pretty big...
I even upgraded to the 4K thing, but so far I've been running into nothing but technical problems regarding 4K on the Mac. But that is not important for the show right now. Let's move on to the next thing before I start geeking out. By the way, let's see.
I will say, though, that if the price jumped significantly, we would probably cancel it because it wouldn't be worth it at that point. It's really good to put on DS9 or The Next Generation or, some cheesy movie like The Mummy in the background while cleaning or cooking or doing something. It's not really something I take too seriously.
Which version of The Mummy?
With what's his name? Monkey Bone.
Fraser?
Brendan Fraser, yeah.
Brandon
That's a good
Fraser.
one. Yeah.
The first two are the best.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Brendan Fraser makes nearly everything good, except for that thing with that animated chick. What was it? Was it that Cool? Wasn't he in Cool World?
No.
Or Monkey Bone? He was in
He
Monkey
was in
Bone.
Monkey
Bone.
Bone.
No, Monkey Bone was great because you know why? Because Brendan
I am
Fraser
gonna-
is a real life cartoon character.
I feel
And
like
putting
just
him in
kicking
that
you from the
scene,
screen.
that Roger Rabbit scene type setting.
You started it, Harry. It's your
Sorry.
own fault.
Sorry, I didn't mean to actually mute you there.
Yeah, sure.
It was an accident. You
I
can
just
trust me.
love him because he's so goofy on screen. Like even in The Mummy, he's very animated and he's very
He's
comedy.
fantastic. Yeah.
Blast from the Past
I
is a
love
good
him.
movie.
He's
That's what
only
that's, yeah.
he's the only thing that makes Doom Patrol fucking bearable.
Blast from the Past is a fine date movie. You and Ella should watch it. You'll like it. Let's see. Well, this is a thing that
with
happened.
Pauly Shore, Elwyn, Neanderthal, Encino Man,
Yes.
which I found out to the rest of the world is called California Man.
Oh.
Uh,
No, it's
Huh?
Encino Man to us. Down here, at least.
No. In North America, it's Encino Man because we're familiar with the geography. But in like Britain and Europe and everything, it's called California Man.
Weird.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
I'll be
anyway,
back.
moving on. Skep, here's your buddy, Big Red. And she just did such great work on her way out the door. Pisaki, I know that there is an outrage about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes. Really? So the administration encourages people to protest outside the homes of the Supreme Court justices. What could possibly go wrong?
You know, can you imagine if somebody's daughter had gotten hurt, or somebody's son had gotten hurt, or wife or husband had been hurt by some maniac, some guy just like the guy in Buffalo just decides it's time to get going, and just says, we're going to take this to the next level and start shooting through the windows. Sooner or later, somebody's going to get hurt, and I'm glad that hasn't happened. I pray it doesn't, but there is a lot of potential for some really ugly stuff, and it's things that these people will never forget. We're getting more and more estranged by the day.
Yeah, well, they're turning on their own here. Pro-choice demonstrators protest outside Pelosi's home, saying she's being complicit. So
Nice.
I'm not sure where in the triangle of social needs, or whatever you call it, do we put this, because we've got supposedly the right kind of people protesting the right kind of people, doing the same thing that the administration says is A-okay when you do it to Amy Coney Barrett. I assume if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still alive and somebody was protesting, sort of saying, save unborn babies outside Ruth Bader Ginsburg's house, they would all be up in arms.
There are laws protecting people who protest against people in the judiciary to prevent influencing of outcomes of their judgments.
Well, there actually is a specific law, that they're violating functional. There's a specific law that says you cannot. It is a federal offense to go after a judge and protest outside their house with the idea of changing their mind on a case or influencing them in any.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to.
Specific,
very specific. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. Protesting a congresswoman or the speaker of the house. There's no specific laws against that. Correct?
That I know of.
I mean, as long as it's peaceful and it's
she's not a judge.
Actual,
as long as she's not
actual
a judge.
protest. Yeah. So there's no laws protecting them the same way, with good reason. I think we can all agree, with good reason. You don't want mobs of angry people influencing judges.
Well, this was coming from a time when gangs of people would head over to where the judge lived and said, that case you're going to decide tomorrow morning, you better decide it this way, or we're going to be having, weenie roast at your house tomorrow night.
Yeah, be a shame if your estate were to burn down tomorrow if you made the wrong decision. Yeah,
you better get right.
Well,
in the UK, they carry this to some pretty ridiculous extremes. This is how, I'm not going to name the person, but ended up in jail because he was covering the reaction of people outside of a trial.
Oh, Robbie Tomlinson.
Yeah, that guy, Robbie Tomlinson. I think that the British system is pretty unworkable. I do think you should be able to protest. You should have a First Amendment right, but I think essentially harassing somebody in their home crosses a line, and I mean that in the most general sense, but specifically for judges, it's a problem. It's a real problem, and I'm actually surprised that these aren't gated communities of some kind where the rabble can't get in. I'm a little confused about that. I would kind of expect Supreme Court justices to at least you'd have to get past a security guard to get to their house. Maybe I'm just naive. I don't understand.
Well, I mean,
how
is
it
that
works back
one
east.
or that small patrol of maybe 3 guys, one in some sort of office, the other 2 like actually patrolling the neighborhood? Like, you think they're going to stand up to a group of 200 people? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, if they're trespassing,
And then the police might. Well, look at what happened with BLM.
oh, look what happened in New Orleans with that house thing with the guy, the lawyer with the gun.
Not McMichaels. Yeah, and his wife.
Yeah. Yeah, the question is how
went
they
after
were
their
even
careers and everything after the fact as well.
how they even got to the gate of his house. It's just the general breakdown of law and order, which I find to be really offensive anyway.
Yeah.
But I say a lot of dumb things, like, was it a couple years ago when I started doing this, I said, I still remember when hush money stood for something. So I have some weird ideas about stuff. They pay you to shut up.
McCloskey's, thank you, Assassin. McCloskey's, yes.
Thank you. All right, let me get the show back on the road here. So this is a thing that people are talking about freely in Ireland. Hopefully this isn't just a little preview of what's coming to us. But this is what they're talking about in Ireland. Essentially taking people's unused houses so that they have places to put Ukrainian immigrants. Because if you're not using that house, we should just be able to repurpose it, right?
Well, if you have to rework all the laws regarding property ownership, but yeah, you could do it then.
Yeah, Richard Boyd Barrett calls on the minister to invoke the Emergency Powers Act 1939 to enable the state to seize property in order to deal with the housing demands from Ukrainians and other people without a home. Never miss an opportunity to agitate for communism. Yeah.
God, that just makes me crazy. That's just no way that's the government's role. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if they fall close, but if I remember correctly, English land laws are stupid and complicated, but there's something about, like, in England itself, so I don't know how much Ireland has a basis on this, but once you have squatters in your place, evicting them is almost impossible. So good luck, Irish people.
Yeah.
If the government is if it's anything like that, and it becomes sanctioned by the government, you don't have that property.
It's immortal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Well, we talked about this in the Palestinian thing, didn't we, Sora? Where there was a situation where there had basically been Palestinian squatters on the land that was owned by some of these Israelis for 40 years. And they think it should just be theirs now. I think you might have been on that night.
Yeah, I think so.
This is why I do get amazed when I hear about stuff like this in the U.S. Somebody who's like house flipping, and then suddenly they find that somebody's living in the house that they're flipping. SimplySafe.com. It's not that expensive to put a install it yourself alarm system on any damn thing you want. Seriously, it's not that hard. As long as there's power going to the house, you can do that. And if you let people take things from you, I'm sympathetic, but I'm only sympathetic to a point, because I am victim blaming. Why didn't you just put a damn alarm on there, and why didn't the police roll the second that alarm got tripped? Don't let them squat. Somebody goes into your house that's not supposed to be there, send the popo. Send the 5-0, whatever you kids call it these days.
Speaking of water issues from a little bit earlier in the stream, I was made privy to a a conversation at one point in time regarding water locally here in my city, where there was somebody basically talking about how they had more or less the homeless in like the nearby park coming over to use their like faucets and stuff for outdoor watering for drinking.
Mhm.
And it was causing their water to just skyrocket. And they were saying, hey, can we please do something about this? And the water authority was like, oh, well, we understand it's difficult, but we can't do anything about that. And it was just
You can just put a lock on the faucet.
yeah.
It's not that, again, not that hard.
Yep.
We're just
But-
paying your water bill.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
but
Well,
no,
I mean, it's just personal responsibility, Geodes. That's the
know,
thing. I mean,
know.
Yeah.
I'm sympathetic. I'm totally sympathetic. But if you're not going to take steps to
Well,
protect your property, you don't deserve to
Well,
have
that's
it.
what I was going to say. I was like, why are you complaining to the water authority was my question. It's like I mean, of course they're not going to do anything. That was my attitude when I was listening to that. I'm like, no. So
Yeah. I'm not going to the Tenderloin in San Francisco with a wad of cash counting my bills as I leave the ATM.
Mhm.
Sorry. I'm in a bad mood today. I can just tell. I'm sorry. Let's see. Hey, well, we could talk about gas prices. Or we could just decide not to talk
no.
about gas prices. Is it going to make you sad, Sora?
It's like it's risen to 230 or something. No, it's not that high. I think it's like 223 or something like that today.
Mm-hmm. That's a liter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should go fill up my car. I don't care anymore. It's got so high, just like, well, fuck you.
Yeah. Just take all my money.
Up north, like the North Shore, not up north, but like across the bridge, it went up to 130, 230 something. Pardon me, I keep saying one because that was high
Mm-hmm.
when it was like $1 and something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Big Red, on her way out, was busy trying to convince everybody that the reason that gas prices are high has nothing to do with the Biden administration essentially declaring war against refineries and oil producers. And it's really just greed. It's just graft. It's just these companies just charging too much. That's the main problem. And I've heard this argument from liberal friends of mine. I'll mention that there are issues with oil production and the Bidens, just sort of obliquely hinting at a conversation about politics. And it's just opportunism. It's just graft. That's all it is. Well, kind of, but not really. So I was trying to figure out why oil prices were, I've reached my limit. Oh, no, whatever will I do? It's like I planned for this. Okay. The real problem that's driving oil prices up, aside from the fact that crude oil is just mega expensive right now, is that there's a real shortage of refinery capacity. And it's the refinery capacity that seems to be screwing everything up right now. So yeah, oil was $125 a barrel not that long ago and has actually dropped down to more like 100 as a couple days ago. But gas prices are being priced as if oil was trading somewhere around 150 to 275 a barrel. The traditional relationship between oil prices and gas prices has been broken. And it's been broken by the fact that, like, for instance, on the East Coast, there are half as many refineries now as there were 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. And so gasoline and diesel fuel, those markets are just completely screwed up. And we're seeing these huge things. And the few remaining refiners that are there, they're having a good old time. They're charging a lot more money to basically refine a barrel of oil than they used to. They used to get $10 a barrel. That would be their profit on a barrel of oil when they turn it into gas and kerosene and jet fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're getting, up to $50, $60 a barrel in some cases. Because where are you going to go?
The thing about refinery capacity, there are refineries in 30 of the United States, but three states dominate the U.S. oil refining. Texas has this lookup says 47 operating refineries. I think it's actually 49 right now.
Mhm.
Louisiana has 19 in second place. California in third place with 18. So that's when they build the refineries, they build them in Texas. They build them in one specific part of Texas. It's basically between Houston and Corpus Christi. It's just an area where they just put refinery after refinery.
Well, diesel fuel is proving to be a problem, particularly in the Northeast.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of concern that they literally might run out in the Northeast, which would be a real problem for Jenna and Prospero.
Yes, it would.
Because you're not going to get your stuff if they can't actually get stuff to you if they don't have diesel to have it show up. So like Love's is a big truck stop. And they've been keeping eye on it. And a lot of the big trucking outfits have been telling their truckers that, make sure to fill up at the end of your day. Just top that tank off.
The diesel shortage is a problem that can be solved with cash, or at least addressed with cash in the short term. You find a way to buy the diesel that you need at the amazingly inflated prices, but believe me, it's out there. You can buy it. It's just ruinously expensive, and that's what you provide to the Northeast, and that's what the government will do. I promise you.
What was that pipeline that got hacked not that long ago? The ransomware thing? I can't remember.
That was the Colonial Pipeline, right?
I forget, but yeah, the one that got hacked.
Pipeline cyber attack.
So it got a lot of basically the stock for the diesel that the Northeast uses goes through that pipeline. Basically, comes from Skep land and goes up along that pipeline up into the Northeast. Because of the lack of heavy crude coming out of Russia right now, because of the political situation, there's a big incentive to take diesel and heavy crude stock and instead of using it in the U.S., to ship it to Europe, because the diesel crisis is much deeper there than it is here. And they will pay even more top dollar than they will in the U.S.
They'll pay $100 a barrel, yeah.
Yeah, well, because shit's got to move.
Yeah,
So we're seeing some of the stuff with diesel is actually due to the situation in Ukraine with Russia.
By the way, the Colonial's network did not use multi-factor authentication.
I'm sure it did use Windows.
Jesus Christ.
That was a picked password. They literally just entered the password and went to town.
Was it 1 2 3 4 5 too?
No.
Password 1 2 3.
But it was a password that the guy had used in another account.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
Just as a little aside, here we're having the big political debates. The leadership of the Conservative Party. One of my personal picks, Pierre Poilievre. We only have 15 refineries in Canada. We've got we send a lot of it, and failing with the pipelines and trying to deal with your idiot Democrats. What he wants to do is pretty much double that by 2035 or something, if he were to get into power, by revitalizing Eastern Canada, who has lost basically all of their income via the fisheries and the waterworks there, in opening another, 10 refineries on the East Coast that would restore at least a little bit. Yeah, sure, it's Canadian side stuff, but would help American gas immensely should this shitstorm of bad policy and followed by bad policy keeps going on. I'm hopeful for it, because if there's one thing that North America can do, we can isolate from the rest of the world and be completely independent on our own resources and everything.
Please,
we just need to buckle down.
Yeah, please let it happen, because we're in our state, our governor has no interest in getting any more oil out of the ground.
Well, I'll tell you, Geodes, everything east of Quebec is highly downtrodden. it's basically like, you know, the worst of the worst how you see in like Appalachia,
Mhm.
poor communities who lost all the mines and everything. Same thing is going there, but it's been happening for 30, 40 years because they keep shrinking the fisheries until there was nothing left and not doing anything against invading Chinese boats. So now we've got all this rich land, lots of very well-educated people, all things considered, who could build and maintain and work these refineries and revitalize several provinces. And the entire eastern half of our nation is kind of screwed right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that Western Canada and the United States have plenty of crude oil, it just made sense. And when I heard that during the debate the other day with BP while we were watching it and discussing it, I was like, wow, that is such a good idea. Let's get some refineries going. Because if we can't inspire companies to bring back more manufacturing of goods here, at least we could do something like that to still boost our GDP and our manufacturing capacity. Because one of the things, aside from rare minerals, is the petrodollar. It's still very strong. Anything backed by petro, because petro is strong. We need it for everything.
You know, the problem with the refineries and the reason so many of them have closed down, part of it is environmental regulations are making it very hard for them to operate. That's thing one.
Yeah.
Weather is another big issue, because if every time, you know, there's some hurricane or other huge natural disaster, you end up losing your ability to produce, that's expensive. The margins are not that high. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money if you're making $10 a barrel, but it really isn't when you look at all of the overhead costs that you're looking at and all of the liability that you have. There's reasons why people have gotten out of the business, and we do need more refineries, but we need to create a culture in which they can kind of flourish. We need to have a culture where it's friendly, unlike the Biden administration deciding, oh, well, there's not really time to do these leases, and nobody's all that interested anyway in drilling offshore, so we'll just cancel this. Yeah, because I totally believe what you're saying here, and you're definitely not lying because you hate the oil companies. As you recall, they wanted to just stop most of the drilling for oil and gas on all government land, but the courts told them they had to do it anyway. And you can tell they're absolutely making a good faith effort to do what the court told them to do, restarting these auctions.
We're sure lucky they're feeling so cooperative.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't help but be on the other side of the border and just rubbing my hands together going, good, good. Buy our oil. Yes. If things went well up here.
Just none of your stinky shale oil, because it takes so much power to get it out of the rock. I'm not sure it's really worth it.
Well, just like you guys, our current dumb ministration has been clamping down on environmental policy and has closed a lot of the drilling and production. And again, like I said, my hopeful candidate wants to peel back some of those regulations, because I do, as a liberal, I do believe in regulations to protect the people and the environment. But there's something, something is too much. And I do think it is too much. And even though we have such stringent laws on environmental protections, when bad shit does happen, do you ever really see these big petrol companies being taken to task? They pay a pittance and they move on and people forget about it.
Yep. Well, Nancy Pelosi and her ilk have a plan. And their plan is to introduce legislation that would go after the oil companies for their excessive or exploitive fuel pricing. We're going to just basically put price caps on things at the federal level, because that will solve everything. Certainly, it'll definitely address the supply problems.
It worked for Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. And Richard Nixon.
Yeah. No shit.
And Venezuela.
Yeah. Price gouging
That's how it started.
Stopped. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Thursday after announcing the bill, "This is a major exploitation of the consumer." Good job, Nancy. You're totally on top of things. It's good to see. Sorry, Functional.
Another $100 tub of ice cream.
Anyway,
no, I'm just grumbling.
We don't even need to talk about this. These people are idiots, and it's terrifying that they're actually in charge of anything. I wouldn't put them in charge of the little cash box from a bake sale. I don't trust any
No,
of
because
these
you'd
people.
end up making $20 for the day and be like, "Where's the rest of the cash and all the food?
Yeah.
And where's the desk that it was all
Oh,
on?"
overhead.
You mean
Oh.
mean food as in golden era of cheap food is ending? This is a
Oh.
UK story. Yeah, so
What
the
a
head of
segue.
Sainsbury's, or a former head of Sainsbury's, was basically saying,
Let me guess
yeah,
what is it?
this whole thing where food used to be cheap and easy to come by, we're not going to do, that's not going to happen much anymore. It sure feels like that's the case. And again, this is where I don't want to get into the conspiracy theories.
Mhm.
That it's all part of the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum intentionally trying to drive food prices up. But it sure
This is that
feels like,
Bilderberg stuff.
well, it feels, it's the Trilateral Commission. It sure feels like Al Haig in a secret ceremony in a castle. Man, conspiracy theories used to be so much. Conspiracy theories used to be so much more interesting. Long before Alex Jones, there was this woman called Mabe Russell, and she did this thing called the World Conspiracy Report.
Conspiracy.
It was
Right.
so much better. It was so much wackier and crazier than any of the Alex Jones stuff. I used to listen to that all the time, like
I've listened to
after
that
class. Mabe Russell was just like the best. But
Yeah.
anyway, enough of that. I don't want to believe all the conspiracy stuff, but I think it sure seems like the government is hostile toward the idea of you having cheap food.
Well,
Between energy prices and stuff they're doing to restrict various kinds of agriculture, it's like they don't care about us, geodes.
well, yeah. Again, not diving into the conspiracy theory thing, but one thing that I've listened to from Yaomi and a bunch of the other people who've escaped countries like North Korea was they constantly talk about the starvation in these countries, and the way they also kind of explain it is, hey, they give you enough food to keep going, but they never give you exactly what you need. And they and that's how they maintain control. And again, I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it, that the noggin gets jogging. So.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
One thing everybody always reports about when they come back from North Korea is, where are the fat people?
Hmm.
There are no fat people in that country.
Except one.
Yeah, except one.
And America's
Except for the
kind of
one in
unique
charge.
in that there's a lot of fat homeless people.
Yeah, that's because food
Obesity
is actually
rates of-
incredibly cheap. You can get 1,000 calories for $1.
dense. Yeah, nutrition dense, cheap food.
Yeah, they'll give you a burger wrapped in paper. You don't even have to cook it. You don't have to do anything. You just give them $1 and they hand you 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
That's insane. We're the luckiest people ever when it comes to food.
Oh my goodness. That's why I say humanity has these long-term goals, and eventually it accomplishes them. It wanted better shelter. It wanted safer places to live, places free of disease, better plumbing, better food, cheap and easy to obtain, salty and cheesy food. And that is, by God, what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Delicious.
Salty
A
snacks.
lot of this, I still don't get the trade of it all, because we'll send North America, U.S., Canada, we'll send chicken to China to be processed, and then it'll be sent right back to us.
Hey, do you want to look at something nice? Something that's
please.
not depressing?
Yeah.
Please.
You ready,
Hurry.
Functional? Bracing for her future, baby giraffe fitted with orthotic. Look at her. Look at the little camel
Baby.
apart.
Oh, I thought they were robot legs. Oh, now I'm kind of disappointed.
Really?
Yeah, because I saw I saw an article, not to get too off, of a cat with lost all 4 of its paws to frostbite. It was the second cat to get full prosthesis done. I saw that today, and I was like, "That's
Aw.
amazing."
I think it's-
Okay, the braces are cool.
Yeah.
Why does he need
Look
them?
at the pretty giraffe face.
The
Going
giraffe is
out.
just wondering what the hell's going on.
It's like, I will kick all of you when I am full grown and send you into a wall.
I'm going to
Does
spit
he-
in the top of all your heads.
Yeah.
Does he
Gonna
have a
whack their heads.
condition, or what's going on here? I want to know more.
So well, don't care about that. The calf was born February 1st at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park in Escondido, and probably using desalinated water. North of San Diego, with her front limb bending the wrong way. Safari Park staff feared she could die if they didn't immediately correct the condition, which could prevent her from nursing and walking around the habitat.
Yeah.
But they
'cause
had
it
no
kinda
experience with fitting a baby giraffe in a brace. This proved especially challenging given she was 5 foot 10 inches tall, newborn, and growing taller every day. So they reached out to experts in orthotics at the Hanger Clinic, where, don't care, landed his very first animal patient. So yeah, so
Cool.
human doctors taking care of giraffes. And this is just a baby giraffe. Still impressive.
It's a bubba.
Yeah.
It's a bubba.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's
You feel
so
better about the world
sweet.
now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting him ready for a short life as a prey animal.
Not in the freaking zoo.
Not in the zoo. It's got property of the zoo written on it. It's fine.
It's San Diego, Skep. The lions are vegans.
Yeah.
San Diego's a
Or they're
great
out-
town.
Might be right.
Or they're out in the street.
I spent probably a very unsuccessful hour trying to convince Geodes that he should move to San Diego.
Yeah.
Hey, I did
family
my
down there.
best.
I know you
great.
did.
San Diego's like the one part of Southern California that I don't want to see like crash into the ocean. It's
Okay.
actually pretty
Nice
nice.
little bite.
Everything
best-
between
it's the
San
best
Luis
part of
Obispo and
Southern
San Diego can just go away.
Fall off into the ocean.
It
Yeah.
starts getting
I don't really
good
mean that,
around
but-
San Clemente. It starts getting better, and all the way
Yeah.
to San Diego is good from there.
Yeah, we'll keep the Reagan Library. That's about it.
Right, exactly.
Let's see. So onward. So everything is. I think. Okay, we're almost done with all the cringe. Okay, let's just table this for a moment. We'll get the last piece of cringe out of the way.
Yay.
This is under why though. San Jose police officer faces charges for masturbating during disturbance call.
Wait. What?
You've got one job, dude, and I believe it doesn't include jacking off in front of people. A
my
San Jose
gosh.
police officer faces indecent
Oh my
exposure
goodness.
charges for allegedly masturbating at a family's home while responding to a disturbance last month. Officer Matthew Dominguez, or as they like to call him, Lucky Dominguez, 32, was arrested on Thursday, Santa Clara County District Attorney said. The charged behavior is beyond disturbing. You think? Law enforcement officers responding to our homes to help crime victims, not terrorize, traumatize, and create new victims.
Uh-huh.
Dominguez has been on San Jose's police force for 4 years. The incident took place April 21st. That's when he and 2 other officers were sent to a home on a call that a family member who is mentally ill was being violent. Seems like the time to whip it out to me. According to the DA's office, Dominguez sent the 2 other officers away to locate the subject. Then he touched himself in front of 2 female family members. After this, Dominguez exposed himself to the mother. Again, this is one of these things where I don't
See, you're a man of refined taste.
I don't understand. You're not Louis C.K. You cannot get away with this.
This is not simple tubinism. That
No. This is being under color of authority, wearing a police uniform. He decided to drop trow in front of women in their home who
so
were already traumatized from having a violent family member kind of out of control.
confirmed weenie wagger.
In only
Yeah.
a year of jail time. What the hell?
It all started with a badly timed C.K. Lewis joke.
It
Or not
seemed to be a
Lewis,
good idea at the
whatever
time.
his name is. Yeah, Louis
Yeah, but-
C.K. rather. Yeah,
Okay,
I almost
so-
had it.
No, you
All right.
didn't.
back to this. So we're actually going to have hearings about UFOs, official government public hearings about UFOs. I don't really expect much to come out of these, but I guess
Yeah.
this is good, right? We like
I mean-
sunlight. We like disclosure.
I mostly just want the freaking ancient aliens idiots to shut the fuck up.
Oh, nothing is going to
Boy.
make them shut.
No,
I
it's gonna make them-
know.
everything that's going to be said that says no aliens, they're going to say, oh, obvious cover up.
It's like, God damn it, go away, you assholes.
Well, then you'll definitely not like this documentary that's coming out, or that's already come out, called A Tear in
Rodham?
the Sky.
Oh.
What's that about?
The
It's
thing
got
is,
William
Shatner's-
Shatner in it.
Shatner's enjoyable to watch in these kind of things because I can deal with him. I just can't deal with the other ancient alien people because they're just lying sacks of shit.
Well,
I don't know if I
Caroline
wanna see
Corey
this.
basically put together a team who went down to Southern California and pointed a whole bunch of instruments at the sky, hoping to
boy.
actually catch something. Well, that's what you do, right? That's the way
Yeah.
science is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Somebody says, oh, there's a hypothesis. And she said, oh, let's just go spend a whole bunch of money and take people who actually know what they're doing and go see if we can find something.
Yeah.
And that's what the documentary's about. I think if she was a complete quack, Shatner would have nothing to do with her. He's
Well-
not Dolph Lundgren, not Dolph Lundgren, but Rutger Hauer.
There you go.
You know, he doesn't just make crappy things for the money.
Well, yeah.
Although I
that's the
think
reason why
Rutger
it's
Hauer
like,
died. I'm sorry. I need a new
that's the
example.
with
Seen things you
Shatner,
wouldn't
I like watching Shatner just because he does at least ask questions that makes them sometimes go so I enjoy it because he's been on Ancient Aliens a couple times. He's been on Mystery of Oak Island and all that kind of stuff, and he throws curveballs at them, and they very often don't know how to answer, or they give some bull double talk answer, and it's just kind of like, I like you, Shatner.
Yeah.
Respect. Respect, dude.
It's hard not to like Shatner.
Oh yeah. At this point, how old is he now?
Like
He's
89.
I think he's
so.
like 89 or 90, but he's basically much loved. He's an international treasure because he's actually one of you people.
Mm-hmm.
91.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's a
Jesus Christ,
Canadian.
1931.
He's a Jewish Canadian guy.
Yeah.
So a lot of intersections with him and people here in the chat today.
Yeah. But, yeah,
But
it's really
anyway, so I don't know.
It's just a shame he's from Montreal and not real Canada.
I think it might be interesting to see how these hearings go.
yeah.
I mean, I know I shouldn't expect too much. And I mean, I personally am not. I accept the fact that there are things up there that we don't necessarily know what they are. But if
Yeah.
we're looking for the simplest explanation, interstellar travel isn't really the simplest explanation for most of it.
yeah.
But I mean, I try to keep an open mind about something because if it's like it's an untestable hypothesis, so I just put it in the basket of untestable hypotheses. But if somebody can find some new interesting data, you know, I'll change my mind. I don't know.
If we have some evidence of extraterrestrial materials or technology or whatever, then hell yeah, I'd be interested. But I'm of the same mind here. I don't think anything cool is going to
Yeah.
come out of this other than, oh yeah, we were testing this new VTOL system, vertical takeoff and landing system, something like that.
I'm pretty sure Skep knows about this. Remember that ridiculous asteroid with the unpronounceable name that was like 20 times as long as it was wide? It was like needle shaped.
Uma something or other. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There
The
are
giant space
actually
turd.
credible people who made hypotheses about that object because it's clearly from its orbit, not from around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this got some people's noggin jogging thinking, hey, given its weird shape, its weird composition, and its weird trajectory, could this actually be something else? Could this be an object of extra solar system origin that actually has like someone or something on it that's just sort of cruising through space observing things?
This is an example of people not realizing how big space is.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that this solar system, this galaxy, even our galaxy, has any significance at all in terms of the amount of matter and the volume in which it resides. It's a tiny amount of matter, the rest of the universe, and it resides in a gigantic space. Stars are so far away from each other. If you measure the distance that separate them versus their actual size, people say, how can two galaxies collide and have there be essentially no chance of a collision of stars? Well, the galaxy is the galaxies colliding is just the intersection, the collision of two areas of space that are fantastically, amazingly large, and they have a few stars in them.
Well,
But they're
it's
so
al-
amazingly large that no star is ever going to come near another. I'm sorry, Serenity, go ahead.
Oh,
no,
it's
Serenity,
fine.
go ahead,
I-
and then I'm going to
yeah.
say something stupid.
What-
You first.
It's also the fact that people forget, and I kind of blame Star Wars and Star Trek for this. People forget space is 3D. You can go up and down, which is the other problem. It's like there can be stuff like straight up above us, like directly like on top.
That's
of
why
us.
we take the Enterprise into an Immelman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right.
But it's like,
That's a callback to the Star Trek stream from earlier.
Yeah.
but still, it's one of those things where it's kind of like people forget that a lot, that because we're so used
Very
to
good
doing
point.
stuff on a 2D that
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
shit everywhere.
Well, yeah,
And not everywhere.
a 2D surface on a 3D object. Yeah. So let me give you two things to think about, and they sort of work in opposite directions as far as the credibility of these hypotheses. You are used to human scale, right? Serenity, you're of human size.
I'm
You're used to
Cthulhu size,
time.
so-
You're used to a human lifespan being a particular amount of time.
Mhm.
You're used to things being sort of dense and cluttered. You move in the dark, you stub your toe, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff everywhere. At the very small scale and the very large scale, everything is very different than at human scale. Like Skep was saying, there's huge amounts of space between everything at the very small and the very large. When you interact with an object, it's a cloud of electrons on the surface of atoms that are interacting. It's the electrons that are actually interacting with each other. It has
Right.
nothing to do with the nucleus. How our world works is actually very, very, very messy. There's almost a beautiful simplicity to space and the quantum world, because it is kind of neatly sort of discretized because things are so separate. If some kind of alien intelligence, completely different than ours, with a completely different sense of time, decided to just go wandering around the universe, hey, let's just see what's out there because we're bored. They absolutely could just exist inside some sort of meteor-looking thing that just happens to look like a needle and be on a completely different trajectory. The idea that there would be anything like from the movie V, or the TV series V, where there's hot aliens like led by Jane Badler that are just going to show up, you know, and do hot alien
isn't
things.
That good. Yeah,
Our luck is not that good.
Not with that attitude, it's not.
You're not even going to get probed. I honestly, I do think that if there were aliens out there, what we should do is just beam pictures of cows, but sexy cows, out into space. So all the aliens that come here would just think that those are the things
They're
they
the
should go
dominant-
after.
Those are the dominant species.
Yeah, the cows are the ones that are in charge.
Yeah, them.
like the white mice and
Look at the
Untitled.
come hither look on Bluebell's face there. You aliens, go deal with the cows. Leave the humanoids alone. We're
Okay,
dumb
Harry,
and
you're
stupid.
getting into some furry
Yeah, this is
territory. You
going
need
a
to
little
stop.
too far.
Oh, am I? Not on purpose. I'm not saying a human should dress up as a cow and go into the fields. I'm not saying that.
Euphemism.
And again, Serenity, I love this show, The Expanse. They do
Yeah.
a really good job of
Yeah.
pushing into your face as the viewer. Yeah, space is like even our little tiny solar system is immensely three-dimensional, and they
Yep.
play with that kind of stuff in the tactics and
Well,
politics of it
the
all.
book is like that too. They're one
Yeah.
of the very few that Dune and them are like the only ones that really do it well. Star Wars does not do it well.
It's-
Star Trek does not do it well.
No, it's
It's
like
actually
because you hit a
kind of
button and you go from
two-dimensional,
one
though.
system to another.
No, but it is actually kind of two-dimensional.
What, a galaxy?
if you look
galaxy's
at-
elliptical.
If you look at our solar system, except for Pluto, which is not a planet,
It is.
all of the planets lie pretty much in a
Oh,
plane.
yes.
And if you look at galaxies, they largely are a lot bigger and flatter than they are thick. Yeah, there is a Z dimension, but the Z dimension is
Only
overall.
goes so far.
Yeah, it's usually a lot less important. So, for instance, all of the stuff that we've done with all of our space probes have all been within this plane, except for some of the things that we've sent out into toward the Oort cloud.
For specific missions, yeah.
Yeah. So So space is kind of the metaphor of them almost being like sailing ships holds up surprisingly well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just the fact that you can have a galaxy directly above you. It's just going to be a long ways away. That's what I mean. Like, yes, they are on a plane because of the gravitational forces that are involved, and I do get that. But there's still a level of three-dimensionality to it that a lot of things don't take into consideration. And I understand why, because gravity is a very 2D, almost like force, because it's what we are accustomed to. We are accustomed to clutter. We are accustomed to stuff like that. So it's one of those things that the tactical brain of mine, whenever I see space battles, I'm always like, just fly up. And that's when I get annoyed, because I'm like, just go straight up and point down. They won't hit you. You're fine.
I mean, we haven't been able to observe it yet, Serenity, but it could be because, solar systems are generally, if you overlap all the orbiting pathways, it turns out to be elliptical. And then you look at the galaxies, yes, they're elliptical. It might turn out that the universe, maybe it's one of multiple universes, it is also elliptical.
Yeah.
It's the scaling of everything, really.
Well,
Even planets are not they're not spheroid; they're more elliptical than anything.
Well, the z-axis matters a lot more once you get past galaxy scale, and even within a galaxy, it would take you many
to us,
human
because
lifetimes.
We're so tiny.
Well, it would take you many human lifetimes to just, if you headed straight up out of the Milky Way, for us to get out of there. But again, it's all dependent on human time scale.
Yeah.
Human experience in terms of time and space don't apply.
Insignificant.
Yeah, we are insignificant, and so there's no proof that there are aliens coming and visiting us.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with, if somebody has a passion for looking into it, that they should go out and stare at the sky, because in the worst case scenario, you get to go outside and stare at the sky at night with other dweebs of like-minded dweebs. That's awesome. I've had a great time going out and staring at the sky. Yeah. I still remember going up and observing one time and hearing somebody say, "Was that a coyote that just walked through the lot?" It's like, yeah. They're really, it's a great way to spend a night, just hanging out with a bunch of people talking about telescopes and looking at the stars. And if you happen to see a UFO, more the better. Sorry, I don't know. How did we end up on this topic?
Let's start talking about three-dimensional.
Government hearings.
Okay. Let's go on to science.
Hey, government is boring. Space is awesome. So.
Okay. Well, let's see. We actually have space soon. Okay. I found this article, which is kind of interesting. How less air pollution makes hurricanes stronger. I'll go ahead and spoil the lead. Aerosols from pollution change the way energy gets transmitted to clouds in the upper atmosphere.
What a thought process.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so basically soot acts almost like an umbrella, which keeps sun from accumulating at the top of the cloud tops. So without storm formation happening, without that dynamo getting as much energy from the sun, things like thunderstorms and hurricanes in particular will be less violent.
Oh.
Go ahead, Serenity.
Well, no, it's funny because we were told that the weather was getting worse because the planet is getting more damaged. But if this actually, and they end up doing more studies other than just this one new study and proving it even further, it's like, no, us cleaning the planet is fucking us in the ass.
Yeah, well, all of that soot that comes out of all of those ships carrying all the cheap crap from China that's coming across the Pacific to us actually has an influence on the atmosphere, just like water vapor and CO2 and methane and all sorts of other things. It's not just one thing. We do things which make the planet colder, and we do things which make the planet warmer. And in this particular case, it makes it colder at an altitude where it changes the way large storms form.
Yep.
But go ahead.
I was saying, as far as soot goes, you're welcome, the rest of the world. We're happy to supply.
Well, we've been cleaning ours up. We're not the ones making this soot. It's China.
Oh, New Mexico's making plenty right now. I don't know what you're talking
about. Not that
about.
kind of soot, Gio.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Said soot, not. Never mind.
Oh, look, it's behind a paywall. Oh no, whatever will I do?
The archive. Science.
There we go.
You realize I'm joking, but okay.
Yes,
wait.
I know.
I've been screwed. I'm glad I read this before I started the show.
Oh no, Harry!
All right, moving on to the
by
next
his
thing.
own petard.
You guys remember the Webb Telescope, right?
Yes.
Yay!
Well, it's not really up and running for real yet,
Oh,
but it is up and running. And this is a comparison of what Webb can do versus the old Spitzer infrared thing. Look at the difference in the detail.
That's so pretty.
yeah. That's some computer
You
wallpaper
can now see
right
the
there.
pimples.
Yeah, you
All right,
can see
aliens.
Space's,
Seen aliens.
Space's pores.
Look at
This
the
is-
difference in definition, though, of that main star in the top.
Yeah, I know. Whew. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is just
What a
one
time to be
instrument
alive.
on Webb. This
Holy
isn't like
shit.
this isn't
No.
just like the big thing. This is one of Webb's instruments. One.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the whole big shebanger.
And,
That'll
and
probably be
look
when
at
we
the
see
look at the difference in the quality. The quality of the research, you know, what you can do with the thing on the right in terms of understanding things versus the thing on the left. You can actually kind of see what's going on the right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's amazing.
You can see the streams and where the biggest, brightest stars. Oh, fuck, this is so
Yeah.
cool.
It is really cool. We're still not up and completely running, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
No.
it's nice to see that that Webb is actually working. I did like a little meme that said, you know, first picture from the Webb Telescope, and in backwards it said like remove protective cover before launch, I think is what it said.
I can't see that shit happening though.
Yeah, because you know what? This isn't going to be like this isn't Hubble, which is in low Earth orbit. This is at a Lagrange
Range.
point. This is
Yeah.
far out. We're not going to send a repair crew to fix this thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would make
Yeah.
it even sadder, but funnier.
We
at the
had to
same
get it
time.
right the first freaking time.
We can't even recall it.
Yeah. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh,
Yeah. No, this is fantastic.
can't wait until it's fully up and operational, though, because like I'm gonna strip nude and run down the street in celebration.
You do you.
I'm
Ellen-
insignificant in the scope of the universe. Nobody's gonna care.
Well, speaking of insignificance,
Yeah.
black
They'll
holes.
be able to check you with the web.
So you guys, I assume, have heard about the picture of the black hole that's been in the news recently?
Yes.
The Eye of Sauron black hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Well, okay, so this is the second black hole that they've actually imaged. The first one was in, what was it, M68?
No, M87, Sagittarius.
M87. This is Sagittarius A, which is basically the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy.
Right, right.
So these
The
two
nucleus.
different black holes, both imaged through the same technology. This article really pisses me off because it actually doesn't say a lot of what you would want an article like this to say. What they're doing is they're using radio telescopes to observe these things. Now, the difference between the Sagittarius A, or the Milky Way black hole, the supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy, and the one that was, would you say, M87?
Yes.
Skep?
M-
Yeah.
yes,
The one in M87 is the environments around them are completely different. The one in M87 is actually kind of exceptional in that it has very slow moving things running around it. There's stuff that they would photograph going around it that would take days to orbit. The one
It's
here
also
at the
1,000 times farther away. I'm sorry.
it's also 1,000 times farther away, but the one here in the Milky Way actually has stuff moving around it a lot more quickly.
Yeah.
So when they take multiple measurements from different parts of the world, and then they take these measurements from different telescopes, preferably as far apart as possible. Because what you can do is you take that data and then you put it into a computer and compare it. And if you have time synchronization with an atomic clock, and it has to be absolutely perfect time synchronization, you can take the subtle differences in the signal that's observed on one side of the world and the other, say the North Pole and the Antarctic. And you can use this to create a synthetic image as if your radio telescope was the size of the entire Earth.
Yeah.
Now, this was in some sense easier to do with M87, even though it was much further away, because stuff moving around it was moving much more slowly. In the case of the one at the center of the Milky Way, stuff is moving so quickly that the synchronization of the data becomes even more important to get a clear picture of what's going on. So this thing looks really fuzzy. No, this is actually one of the highest resolution images ever. This is an astonishing technological achievement that they were able to take this. This was actually harder to do than the one for M87. This supermassive black hole, it's a technique called very long baseline interferometry. It's really fascinating the way it works. And I was trying to think, how do I explain how this works to somebody to make it not be incredibly boring? And it's like, you sort of know, I think instinctively you know that bigger telescopes are better than smaller telescopes, right? Like you wouldn't expect to take something the size of a DirecTV dish and point it off into space and get brilliant pictures. You kind of know that bigger is better, but you're not really sure why bigger is better.
Jodrell Bank is a whole different deal.
But when you do this synthetic thing and it looks like the entire Earth is the telescope, that's the size of it, you're able to resolve things that are incredibly small. And it has to do with the size of the telescope relative to the wavelengths you're observing. There's a bunch of math, which we're not going to get into, but bigger is better. Bigger means more detail. Bigger means clearer images. And so this is kind of at the limit of what we can do until we actually launch things into space and then make a synthetic telescope that's massively bigger than all of this stuff. That's what the next generation's going to be. Is going to be sending radio telescopes into space and then making a network of these things.
Yes, absolutely. That's so cool because, if you think about needing it used to be telescopes were refractive. They had an objective lens, a big lens, the classic looking telescope that you saw in Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And the larger that objective lens was, the more resolution farther away you could see. And when you're trying to make that big, the equivalent of the objective lens, the focal radii, you don't need an entire lens that big. You just need a few portions to reflect light, so that light will reflect the condition of light reflected from where it would be on that hypothetical lens. And that's why you can get a portion of the lens in Antarctica, a portion of the lens in Alaska, and compare the subtle, tiny differences in the numbers that the light gathered at each point takes, and do that interferometry exercise that they're capturing these amazing pictures with. And that's what Harry's talking about, is just expanding that. Can you imagine if you had a satellite orbiting Mars and another satellite orbiting Saturn, and your lens was that big? Can you imagine how far you could see?
Or 3 James Webbs on the Lagrange point, each taking images at the same vectored on the same location, being able.
Same idea.
You want like one at L2 and another one at L4.
L4.
So you would want them at opposite, basically before and after the Earth in terms of the Earth's rotation. So here's the hard part, other than the fact that it's bloody expensive. The hard part is the amount of data that you have to actually move. So in this case, they moved petabytes of data. It took a lot of observing across multiple instruments all around the world to gather all this data. Each of those had to have an extremely high precision time source. In this case, a hydrogen maser. This is a very sophisticated piece of equipment. So you need a big-ass telescope. You need a bunch of them. You need a very, very, very sophisticated time source. So you would have to send all of this stuff into space. And then the data that you collect, you would have to get back to Earth. Now, part of it is you have limited bandwidth because you have only so much transmit power and you have a long latency. So the time that it takes for you to say, okay, I'm sending this data from my satellite to the Earth, actually matters, because if you miss something, then you have to go back and retransmit it. Your data rates for like satellite communication are very, very low, but the amount of data you need to send for this to work is very, very high.
Very, very high.
So you actually need your space internet before you can actually pull something like this off. In fact, you would almost be in a position where if you tried to do it now, you'd almost have to like have hard drives that you put in like gorilla cases and shot them back to Earth. You would almost have to sneaker net it. Yeah.
Well, sneaker net sometimes, and Harry's forgotten more about this than I ever knew, but sometimes sneaker net is the fastest way to move extremely large amounts of data.
Yeah. I once unironically suggested sticking 100,000 tapes in a 747. I'm not kidding.
I hear you. I've suggested design stuff like that for a couple of clients.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, what are you going to do in the 90s?
Right. God, do you have a handle on that?
Anyways,
1997.
But this was cool.
This is amazing advance. Being able to see.
So it just looks like a fuzzy donut, right? I mean, I get that, but what's cool is that this is the first ordinary black hole we've got a picture of. So now we've got a picture of an extraordinary one and an ordinary one. And this means that our understanding of how this works is so much better than it was before. And this is just the beginning.
Yeah, this is just the scratch of the surface. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This isn't Star Trek. This is real. This is really happening. We're really taking pictures of black holes, distant black holes. That's
another one of those things from when I was a kid that they said would never happen.
Right.
We'll never be able to detect extrasolar planets.
Never be able
and then
to
it was
see
sort of like,
the
well,
radius
maybe if
of a
it was
star.
like a gas giant and it was really close. No. That's all gone. All of that shit they told me when I was a little kid, like, oh, don't, it's not going to happen. Well,
or a
happened a
cold,
lot.
barrenless, lifeless rock. No, we can still see those. Yeah.
Yeah. We now have over 1,000 extrasolar planets that we know about of all different sizes.
And I can't wait to see some of the stuff. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
No, it's okay. But I think Sora made a noise. Was that you?
Oh, I said it was very cool.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
I just can't wait to see the comparison of the data between the Sagittarius and M87 and how different do they act? Like, why is, like you said at the top of it, why is Sagittarius's surrounding celestial bodies moving so much faster in compared to the M87s? And what we will be able to glean from that will no longer be in the realm of theory.
Well,
when I was a kid, we would never have known why is a black hole? Like, what causes it? Don't know.
Well, they would say you might be able to detect an X-ray escaping from something as it was accelerated toward the event horizon. That was sort of where things were a long time ago.
More.
And there was a fun book I read on black holes when I was a kid, and they would talk about it preserving rotational energy, preserving charge, different things that could happen if it basically formed like a donut, how you get an Einstein-Rosen bridge. All of that stuff is fun and speculative, but this is real. This isn't like just making a book and drawing some pictures. This is actually this is what's actually happening. And the fun thing is we have computers now and we can simulate what we think happened after the Big Bang in those seconds when things sort of cooled and the physical laws sort of took form, and things cooled off enough that it wasn't just an angry bunch of energy.
Yeah.
And these supermassive black holes, which we think formed early, are kind of like a grain of sand to a pearl. They are the thing that makes something like a spiral galaxy stable for billions of years. Things form around it. It's an important part of it. It isn't like this thing that's just going to kill the galaxy. In fact, the black hole at the center of our galaxy eats very, very, very little. I think the analogy somebody said, it would be like a human eating 1 grain of rice every 40 years, if you look at the amount relative to the size of this thing. This thing is just nibbling. It's not destroying the universe, but its gravity at the center of the Milky Way is what makes everything work.
Yeah.
It isn't just the stars being attracted to each other. It's having this big anchor in the center that makes everything stable. And when we do collide with the Andromeda Galaxy, it would be bad if the black holes fuse.
Might get some gamma rays out of that.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
worry,
going to
we'll
be in for a fun time.
Don't worry, we'll just plug it up, Skep, with Stacey Abrams.
Little sunscreen.
She's
Yeah,
already
I'm going to
been to
hide
space.
behind behind Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, or just deposit it under her fupa and just be focused.
Okay, well we actually have penis news, and I think it's pretty decent. Not as good as last week.
Hey, can
Okay.
I answer a question before just somebody DM'd me? A petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. Just for anybody who didn't know.
That's a lot of data.
That's it.
Yeah, that is a lot of data.
It's inhuman.
I don't know the answer to that. It's looking more like endless expansion than the big crunch right now, but it hinges on the fact that we don't
formation,
really
yeah.
we don't really understand dark
Right.
energy as well as we
Or
probably
dark
should.
matter. Yeah.
I would actually refer you to an outfit on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel that's associated with a think tank. It's called the Perimeter Institute. And if you really want to make your head hurt, the Perimeter Institute and the Royal Institute are the channels to take a look at. Just ignore Veritasium and all this other horse shit. The Perimeter Institute has really interesting, not stodgy, it's very speculative. So you need to kind of keep your critical thinking on. So, like, as much as I love listening to Roger Penrose talk about things, I have to remember that he's slightly insane, as well as being brilliant. So don't just believe everything you see. But the Perimeter Institute has some fantastic videos about just this topic, and so does the Royal Institute.
And it's Canadian, eh?
Is it?
Yeah, Perimeter Institute's Canadian. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Because I know we have a lot of
Yeah,
think tanks up
Ontario.
here for-
Ontario. That's
Oh,
in
no,
Canada.
You know,
I agree with Assassin. You definitely should not be panicking over any of this.
yeah.
Not a reason. I'm pretty sure that there's a point in a human lifespan where you kind of get old and tired and don't give a shit about much of anything anymore. That's going to happen long before you get to the point where you have to worry about this.
Yeah, stop attacking Skep. Come on. Family show. We're all friends here.
Personalizing things, man.
Hey, I didn't use your name.
Next thing you know, you're going to dox them.
All right, so you guys want penis news, right? Because everybody loves penis news.
Everybody loves a little penis.
Government warns women to stop playing with endangered penis plants.
Which government?
Pardon?
You heard me.
Oh, Cambodia.
There it is. The Cambodian
Shocking.
government is urging sexed-up citizens to stop playing with phallic-shaped flowers known as Nepenthes holdeni, saying the erotic-looking plants are at risk of extinction. Look, they're just very happy. The
Humans
Ministry of
suck.
Environment.
Why are they all Asian? Are they from China and they're just there to
This
destroy
isn't
them? Hold
Cambodia.
on.
It's Cambodia.
It was one of those, it's like I expected China just to send people out to just do this shit. Considering how
But
China
you notice none of those girls are holding it in a baseball type grip.
I don't
Just
Those
holding it
glasses-
delicately.
Those glasses make her look smart. So this is a film from the Cambodian government. They sent out these three nice young ladies. The government issued a stern statement on Wednesday after a video showing several women picking the plants went viral on the internet.
yeah, because the women are
unpronoun-
pretty and it looks like a penis. That's why.
Unpronounceable is a tropical pitcher plant commonly found in the mountainous regions of western Cambodia. It's a holiday in Cambodia. The
I love the
flower,
fact you
dubbed the
just-
penis plant due to its resemblance to the erect human phallus, has long been a protected species. However, in recent years, locals and tourists have been pulling the frisky-looking flora from the ground at an increasing rate and snapping selfies for social media. Don't be a thought with a penis plant. Just don't.
Yeah.
Did they teach you to use protection? I mean, come
Yes.
Apparently not.
on. Yeah.
At least she's got protective eyewear on.
That's true.
There were no lenses.
Yeah, there's no lenses in
There's
those.
no lenses there, Harry.
You don't think so?
I know so. Look at the video. There's oh,
They
wait,
would-
the hippo.
Yeah,
Now we
there'd
have a
be
new
reflection.
video.
Oh, he's such a happy boy. Look at him.
They
Oh,
kill
Here, have
more
a
people than
watermelon.
sharks. They're devils.
that's okay.
Yeah. Look. more women with penis plants. So yeah, just because it looks like a penis does not mean you guys have to become a bunch of TikTok thoughts.
I love Elvin's comment.
What did she say?
Oh my god, imagine explaining how you got that easy.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
God.
Yeah. No kidding.
New version of herpes. Woohoo!
Sora, you remember that PSA? Don't you put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Stuff it in your face.
Anyway,
It might look like a penis.
so
It definitely
TikTok
isn't.
thoughts are not just limited to the West. I don't know. They don't look that endangered to me. There seem like a lot of them right there.
Maybe that's the only patch that they still grow.
It's the only penis patch.
It's like a Mr. Garrison fantasy sequence from South Park.
Well played.
All right. So enough of this nonsense.
We like that, don't we, Mr. Hand?
Mr. Stick. All right. So that is pretty much all I had planned for tonight. You guys have anything you want to talk about before we head out?
Oh, well, Skep and I were on Star Trek stream today, and something that came up that we were kind of unsure of. They make a reference to January 6th, and in his explanation, this is the first episode. In the captain's explanation to the developing alien species, trying to relate to them and what we went through with grandiose wars, he references January 6th as the fight. It started with the fight for freedom, which quickly escalated into civil war and then into another world war. And so I glossed by that the first time too, Skep, and thought he was just referencing it as, oh, well, this was another sort of, brink of war. But no, he specifically says this was the start with the fight for freedom. Very interesting.
They delayed a vote. It was pretty bad.
Oh,
That's how revolution
That's
starts.
That's what makes that more important, more deadly. It killed more people than our Civil War did.
right.
Well, if Stacey Abrams is
That's
basically
real.
the president of Earth, what do you
Yeah.
expect
that's
from
STD.
these people?
That's-
It's the
that's-
same group of assholes making this stuff.
No,
It's-
I mean, it is, but it isn't, because
is it in the Kelvin universe?
if you were to watch the Star Trek stream and not give us your petty excuses, it's on the internet. It's forever, Terry. You
Yeah.
would hear that the consensus is that this show is actually a return to what made Trek good in the first place, and maybe has some weakness in the knees, let's say, in trying to get out of the starting gate because it was directly related to STD, which went off and did its own thing. It's still somewhat enjoyable return to Trek, and we'll see what happens after this first season, because we're all kind of just done with Picard.
Still rather see Axonar. I'm sorry.
Axonar was great.
I would,
and so
I
was-
would much
so
rather
was,
just see a completed Axonar than any of this CBS stuff.
What was the other one with come on, Serenity, the guy sexual harassment claims because he's an anime voice actor as well?
Oh, I know who you're talking
Vic?
about. Yeah,
Vic Mignogna, thank
yeah.
you. His Star Trek Continues was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Axonar, I is it ever going to get done though?
Hey, we didn't even talk about Doctor Who. Successfully, we avoided talking about that because I don't need my things. I mean, I've already given up on Doctor Who, so I don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah, I walked away too.
Yeah.
I gave up after David Tennant left, so I've been gone for years.
Yeah, it's all, everything is just going to hell. It's a good thing that paper books that they can't just edit, don't change. Skep can still go pull Tolkien off the bookshelf, and there's nothing that the woke idiots can do to ruin it.
Hey,
That's
hey,
right.
the Doctor Who audio dramas, especially the ones with Tennant, Eccleston, and Donna, are awesome.
If I was going to listen to the audio dramas, I would go to the ones, the McGann ones, because that sort of missing bit of lore kind of interests me, and McGann is a hell of a good actor.
How can
Yeah.
anyone trust your weeby opinion anyway?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a lot of weeds in the world.
I'm just trying to end on a joke because
Any final thoughts? Or are we done?
I think we're good.
We're done.
I'm done. I'm done.
Final
Stick a fork in me.
Good night, everybody. Zoo's
Good night.
closed.
Ease of the
Good
void.
night,
I'm glad
everybody.
Texas.